Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Flip Flop Family podcast. It's the one where we have another member, and today we have again Mr.
Benjamin, daddy and husband. Me. I'm back again. I've been invited back again, so I'm quite surprised.
Yeah,
I don't know why you've invited me twice, but I'm here and I'm ready to share whatever you need me to do.
Well, you're very lucky because the kids were quite offended, actually.
Yeah, I know.
I did something really funny, which is what made me think of the topic of today. And obviously Valentine's Day is approaching, and Zach, he's with an agent and does commercials and acting and stuff like that. And he had an audition to do today. So Ben and I have already been filming for ages already. And we had to do a craft activity. So I decided that Ben and I would make a Valentine's card with him. And the first thing I thought when we were making it was like, oh, this is amazing. I can give Ben this Valentine's card and I don't have to buy one. And that is what made me think of the podcast.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting about money and how individuals think of money. And it's when you're an individual, I think you just kind of crack on with your thoughts on money and you just go about your life doing what you always did. But when you then come together with someone and you share a pot of money or you share decisions when it comes to money, it's very interesting. And me and you, I feel like our relationship with money and the way we look at spending has changed over the years since we've met. And you often say I'm cheap, which isn't very nice, Benjamin.
So I don't say you're cheap. I think when I say that you're cheap, I don't mean you're cheap. I mean that you do look for every avenue that you can to try and save money, which I think is amazing, and I do really appreciate that. But I think that sometimes where we differ is where you go off to one road and I go off to like another road, because you really push your money saving agenda out there as far as it can go, and that's cool. But sometimes for me it can just go down that road a bit too far, and that's where we have a difference of opinion.
Okay, so I was actually I thought you might say something along those lines, so I actually wanted to look up like the definition. And you know, when I searched it, it's a massive topic to a lot of people.
What,
like
saving money,
like
or
no, like
being like
cheap,
frugal and
like cheap versus savvy.
Yeah.
Because when I remember not that long ago when sort of being savvy almost became a bit cool. Like people were like, oh yeah, I'm really savvy. And I was like, praise the Lord, I'm finally cool. Like it's okay. It's okay to be savvy. But cheap is when like at all cost you will go like you will buy like the cheapest thing, regardless of quality, regardless of the fact that whatever you're buying might fall apart. Whereas savvy is about you're happy to spend the money, but you want to make the most out of that. So you want to buy something that is the best value. So I feel that most of the time I am more savvy than cheap. Wouldn't you say?
So I whenever we do anything that involves money, when I look at you, like for example, if we're going to go buy something, I can see the cogs in your head just turning. How on earth can I get this a lot more cheaper? How can I save money on this? And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that automatically you're always trying to get something cheaper, which is cool. But I think that there is a limit to what you can do. And I think that sometimes if you don't get it for a said price that you want, I think that you can like feel quite let down by that.
Yeah.
And that's where you need to know, look, I've gone as far as I can go. I've got, a discount on something and I'm now okay with that.
But when you talk about that, like you feel let down, that kind of reminds me of our time traveling, like in places where you can haggle, like in the markets in Thailand.
No, I have to walk away.
In Morocco.
Good Lord. Like I can't even tell you how many times we've been in a situation where you're trying to barter with like somebody and he's looking at you like, oh, are you absolutely crazy? I am not making any money from this. How can you give me this price?
But you must admit that I do find a way to get in there. I'm looking at this
poor guy and I'm thinking, look, just like take my money. You can have my money. Like, excuse my wife, but you can just have my money.
But your money is my money, babe.
I know, but
so whether we're spending your money or saving my money, it's the same thing.
There comes a time where I think, and I feel like a lot of husbands probably feel embarrassed by wives really pushing that discount thing a lot, and especially when you come like from an Asian background, a lot of Asian people were brought up in the sense where we're always trying to save money. And as we get older, I just can't be bothered to haggle that much anymore. But that fire is still burning in your belly, and you're
stop it. Oh my God,
it is
stop it, Ben.
alive and well.
But I think what you just said there about how as Asians, and hopefully we're not offending anybody, but the Asians that we know and us, we
Yeah,
do
it's a
have,
cultural thing,
yeah,
isn't
we
it?
do have
It's
a
a cultural
tendency to
thing.
try and make our money go as far as we can. And looking back, sort of at history and why that is, to me, it's fairly obvious that most of our parents either came to this country as immigrants or on work student visas or whatever it was, and had nothing essentially and had to build from the ground up.
Yeah.
So that's definitely where my sort of frugality comes from. It definitely comes from my parents. And you know, thankfully, you know, we always had a roof over our head and we always had food on the table. But my dad especially, he was really, really careful with money. And anytime, even as we grew up and where money wasn't as much of an issue, even then, like I remember wanting to buy, you've heard the story a million times, but I remember wanting to buy a hi-fi, you know, when everyone wanted like the 2 speakers and like the CD deck and the tape deck. Like it was like the holy grail of music, wasn't it? Yeah, and I really, really wanted one. And I felt like I was a good kid. I felt like I deserved it, you know, but my dad would not let me buy it. It was like, I think it was it was a JVC one. It was £150. And I had to almost like go and use my money to buy What Hi-Fi magazine and almost put like a bit of a proposal as to why I felt that was the best value. And then he bought it for me.
Yeah.
But that was a really important lesson. And maybe it was that he made me do. I think I must have been 12 or 13 years old. And in a way, I think that's almost my thought process now, isn't it? Like when you're like, oh, babe, I think we need to get a new TV or we need to get... I mean, I kind of leave the tech to you, actually. But let's say we need a new toaster, which we really do. We still haven't got one because it's just too much thought process. Like, is it going to brown enough? Is it like going to be good value? Is like the crumbs going to collect to the top? I feel like I take things to another level.
There's when you know, buying a toaster, which I thought should be quite a straightforward thing. Not in our house. There's got to be boxes that have to be ticked, and it's hard to find the right toaster because, again, like, you know, we've got a bit of a criteria when it comes to a toaster where you want to be able to toast 4 toasts at the same time. Obviously, you know, we're a family of 4. And then they can't leave crumbs inside the toaster, which I feel is impossible.
Not inside. No. You know, like so now you go look at your
just
toaster.
the outer part of it.
Most toasters, they have like the slice bit, and then around the edge they have this weird like rim, and it's just like, this is a rim to collect like toast crumbs.
Yeah.
Why
And
is it there?
once it gets down inside there, you can't really get them out again, so it's hard to clean as well.
Yeah.
So it becomes a bit of a headache, really.
Yeah, it does. So that's, I think, why I am the way I am. But for you, I think your upbringing and your relationship to money was very different.
Yeah.
And when I was looking up about money and researching what forms our relationships to money, research has said that a lot of your spending habits are formed really early on, like from like 0 to 7.
Yeah.
Is there any sort of things that happened in your childhood between 0 to 7 about money?
I don't know if anything particularly happened, but my experiences were that I came from quite a working class background. So as kids, we never really saw much money, you know, like at all. And even if you wanted a gift or you wanted, you know, something nice, you know, my parents couldn't really afford to buy us these things. Mm-hmm. So growing up, we were, I wouldn't say poor, but we didn't have much. Mm-hmm. And when I'd go to my friends' houses and they'd have all these toys and stuff, I'd be like, oh, I really want that, you know. But it was hard because my parents couldn't afford these things. So it came to a point where we had to obtain certain toys by other means.
Taking matters into one's own hands, literally.
Yeah, there were a number of things that me and my sister and my friends used to do to get things, because we couldn't afford them.
Would you like to tell me about a story that happened perhaps in those early years that the research states, those kind of 0 to 7 years?
So I must have been about, I'll give you one quick one because there's like, you know, so many stories. But when I was about 7 or 8 years old, I really wanted this toy called Orko. So Orko was the kind of ghost friend of He-Man.
Yeah.
And he was this little kind of floaty ghost that would go around with He-Man and, you know, do things and help to save people or whatever, right? So this little ghost, I loved him and I really wanted him so much. So my grandma used to work in a place called Debenhams. She was the manager of the sports section called Champion Sports. So I was like,
I didn't even realize. I didn't
yeah,
know that.
she was the manager.
It was in Debenhams. I thought it was just like a.
It was in Debenhams. No. So it's like a section
store.
Inside. Yeah, inside Debenhams.
Okay, concession. Yeah.
Anyway, so my mum would go and see her a lot. So one day when my mum went to go see my grandma, I was like, oh, I'm just going to go to the toy section, Mum. I'm going to be back in a minute. And whilst I'm there, I'm like, oh my God, Orko's there in the packet. What can I, like, I'm like thinking, God, if I just put him under my coat and I walk out of here.
Sorry, you've already said, but how old do you say
So
you
I was
were?
probably between 7 and 8 years old. I know that's not how the mind of a 7 or 8 should think. I know. I do look back and think, God, I was terrible. But when you don't have something and you really want it, and I know, and you know, stealing is not a good thing to do, obviously, you know, but I was just like obsessed with
Okay,
this
so
one
you
toy.
saw this Orco in its
I
packet.
saw Oko, and in my mind, I formulated a plan. So what I'm going to do is I had like a duffer coat. I'm like, right, I'm going to take Orko. I'm going to walk around the shop a little bit. I'm going to look around, and when no one's looking, I'm going to put Orko under my coat, and I'm going to almost like hold my arms against my coat to like carry Orko all the way out of the shop, then into our car. Then I'm going to come out of the car. I'm going to be holding my coat still. I'm going to walk home. I'm going to walk into my house. I'm going to go into my house, go upstairs into my bedroom, and I'm going to put Orko under my bed.
So this is a whole thought out plan that this 7 to 8 year old Benjamin in Debenhams was having. It was all
within
planned
that
out.
minute, I'm like, right, I can do this,
Oh my
right? I know it
gosh.
sounds so bad. Anyway, so I've grabbed Orko, I've put him under my coat. Everything that I planned in my mind now is going all to plan. It's great, right? I've got Orko. I'm walking out of the shop with Orko under my coat, right? Walking with my mum and my sister. We get into the car. I walk out of the car. I'm still holding Orko
Wasn't your
under.
heart just like pounding
It
like
was.
crazy?
I was like, yes, I'm nearly home. Anyway, we got home, and for some reason, I forgot Orko was there, and I'm like, standing in my living room with all of my family, and Orko just falls out onto the floor, boom. And when you can just feel everyone just like turns around and like looks at you. I'm looking down at Orko, they're looking at me, and I'm like, everybody hates Chris. It was that kind of moment. And like, my mum was like, what's that, Ben? And I was like, I don't know. This is a guy called Orko that I really like. She was like, yeah, but how do you have that? And I'm like, I think I just forgot and I put it in my pocket. And my uncle was like, have you stolen that? And I was like, no. And then I was like, I got busted.
You did get busted, and you deserve to get busted because we do not want to encourage this behavior.
I was so close to just that packet and opening it and getting them out and like smelling him. I know that sounds weird, but when you get like a new pair of shoes or whatever, you want to smell them a little bit. Anyway, so my mum made me go back to Debenhams, and I had to go and sit in some room with like the manager, and like I was 8, and I can just like remember her saying to me, Benjamin, it was such a stupid thing to do. A really stupid thing to do. She must have said like stupid 1,000 times.
But I'm really sorry, but it was a really stupid thing
to do. It was very stupid, but anyway, over the years, I never quite got over not really getting Orko. So Xylene very nicely bought me Orko when we were like, dating.
I forgot that I did that. That was a very nice thing to do, Xylene.
Got over not really getting it then.
Not having it.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that experiences in your childhood really can predict what type of like money spender you're going to be as you get older. And with us, I like to call myself a minimalist.
Yeah.
Because I'm not into materialistic items. I prefer experiences.
Your wardrobe may prove otherwise, but yeah, go on.
You, on the other hand, shoe upon shoe upon shoe.
Yeah.
You have an obsession with trainers.
I do, yeah. I think when you really want something as a child and you don't get it, I think I do actually have a problem. I feel like whenever I can buy a nice pair of trainers that I really want, I think because I had a lack of them as a child, I feel like I just buy them like more now as an adult. But I feel like I shouldn't do that anymore. I feel like it's obviously a problem. And I've got to stop because I've got tons of trainers in their boxes. You do. In, storage, and it's not cool. So I need to.
And the kids always say, Daddy's shoe game is strong.
It's a tight game though.
It's a tight game. My game is shocking. Yeah. I'm a kind of one pair of trainers for the gym and stuff until they wear out and they're no longer good anymore. Isn't it? To the next one. You got me a new pair for Christmas.
Yeah, you're generally quite good.
My one before that was like when we got back from traveling. So
yeah. I mean, you like do wear them in the ground though. They look battered and they look terrible.
No, I don't.
Like the worst ones are your Uggs where they go like the back of the like sole. It's like going downwards. So like when you walk, your feet are like that. I'm coming, babe. I'm coming.
You know the first
and
time.
And your sole's not like that anymore.
You know the first time that I ever got like an original pair of Uggs was when you bought them for me. So that was like, I don't know if we were engaged or married or if we were dating, but like I feel like nowadays with a lot of peer pressure, like for children, like Emiliana, her list of things that she likes, that wants for Christmas, they're all branded things, and I couldn't dream of ever getting a pair of Uggs, like Uggs at the age of 12, But it's just, I find it really hard, and I'm sure there are other parents out there where you've clearly spoken about times where a lot of times in your childhood where it wasn't possible. The money just wasn't there. Yeah. You weren't able to get the flashiest pair of trainers and the most trendiest, like, coat or whatever it was, or even, wicked glasses that you needed.
There were random times where my parents did buy us these nice things, but they weren't like on a regular basis sort of thing.
But what I'm saying is you were aware that was a circumstance,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
So obviously, being an adult, you've worked hard, and your children can have these things from us. Yeah. So it's almost like we're always playing this kind of like not good and evil, but good and bad. I would say that you're like, you want them to have it, and then I'm like, yeah, but I want them to appreciate it. And then you're the same. You're like, yeah, I really want them to value it. But then you have the other person going, but we didn't get these things when we were young. Like I said, I never got a proper pair of Uggs till I was in my 20s. And it's like, well, you kind of want Emiliana to be able to have a proper pair of Uggs, but it's just so hard to teach them the value, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a balance. And I think that you do want to provide your kids with the best of the best, but you want them to appreciate the value of what it costs and what it takes to earn the money to buy these things. And that really, is like key for me. I don't want to have these kids that are quite, mummy's going to buy it anyway for me, it's fine. Like, I want them to really appreciate the fact that they do have quite a privileged, life where their parents don't, it's not a struggle, but they have to appreciate these things.
Yeah. Well, there's so many things that you can do if you do have children and you're trying to sort of instill those values. And one of them, which a lot of our friends did when their children were younger, we always planned to, I think we might have done it, where you get the 3 jars and you put spend on one, you put save on one, and you put charity on one. Right. And then you give your children some pocket money. So let's say you give them, just to make this easy, let's say you give them £1. So you give them 10p's, and then they have to decide where they want to put that money. And I think doing these things with your children can really encourage them to understand, so that when you take them out and they want to buy something, they know, okay, I've only got however much in my spend pot, and I'm putting this in my save pot because I want to get a new game for my PS5 or whatever it is. But I think those sort of messages are really good.
I think it's a very good lesson that actually that when you have got money and you want to go spend that money, it's important for your child to think about charity first. So think about how they can help others first, before going and spending stuff on themselves. Let's put a bit aside first for people that are less fortunate, and then whatever I've got left over, I can go and spend it. Yeah. But I think it's important to think about charity first before spending on yourself. I think that is a very, very key thing.
Yeah, so I think that's really good. And another cool thing, which actually I saw on TikTok this morning, I've never seen them. They're like these kind of money. They're sort of money booklets. Right. So basically it helps you to save a certain denomination. So it might be 2,000, 5,000, 6,000 in a year. So what it has almost like these little plastic pockets, 1 to 100. And you basically, whenever you have, especially if you're someone who gets cash from their job, it's quite good. Or even just taking the cash out. Because I feel like when it's in your bank account and you tap on your card, it's very easy for it to disappear. But with these little pouches, every day you put in, so one day you put £1 in it, you close it. The next day you put £2, £3, and so on, £50, £70. You go on, and then by the time you've done the 100 pages, so the 100 days, you've basically saved £5,000. Yeah. I think that's the amount. But you can buy these different booklets, and I thought that's actually really
great
good,
lesson,
especially if your children get a lot of money for like birthdays and Christmas and stuff. It's such a good way to visually see, isn't it? That you're saving money,
compounding the interest, everything just getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a really amazing thing to do. I just think it's, when I looked up how children learn their behaviors, it's very much from parents and from families. And I think we do a lot of money saving behaviors that probably teach them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Exactly.
We shop on Vintage a lot, don't we?
100%. Yeah. And I think, again, that's a great one, because obviously with Vintage, you can sell your clothes and your shoes and stuff. Yeah. For them, it's a great lesson to get their clothes together, wash them, iron them, take a picture of them, get them on there, and when they sell them, for them it's like an achievement. Exactly. Oh, look, I've made like £5 or whatever. Exactly. But they're reselling their clothes rather than putting them in the bin. They can resell them, and that's like another way for them to make a bit of money. Yeah, well, Zach did that, didn't he? So both of them did it. They got all their old trainers out, and Zach, he's so diligent, isn't he? He cleaned up his trainers so nicely, and then we gave him the phone, took the pictures, and again, it's that teaching them, isn't it? Getting it online, and you can see, it's Zach, your trainer's sold.
£3 you could put that towards. And we always, I think we are quite good at sort of reusing, recycling, upcycling in our house. And again, all these lessons I'm hoping is going to wear off on the children, and they will think about it. Emiliana's always happy to look on Vinted.
She is,
and we're not very
yeah.
precious if it's secondhand. It's okay, stick it in the wash and use it. So I think those things are really good, and it is really important. And I think you're right. There probably has been some times where maybe I have been a bit cheap, but I think we know now why. It's from my childhood.
Yeah,
I think I've got a lot better over the years.
I think you have, but just a quick story. We went to Pizza Express the other day with your lovely friend M&A and her beautiful little son Tiger. Just a quick one, how it is to save a bit of money. We were literally, I saw people come, eat and go. And we were sitting down.
Going over the top.
I'm just saying it's not a bad thing. But we were sat there for at least half an hour trying to figure out, okay, so they've got this deal. But if you buy one, I can get 3. Then we can save £2 here, which is not a bad thing. But my point is, sometimes if it takes too long and you're going to save like 50p, it's not worth it.
No, but this was a matter of...
that was a better saving. So it wasn't 50p, it was a lot more.
That bill was a matter of £70 versus like £35.
So no, I will give you that. But it did take about half an hour though.
It did take time, but that wasn't my fault because their system wasn't working. Yeah. So that wasn't my fault.
No, I'm just saying, if you're gonna have this kind of lifestyle, you've got to be in it for the long term. It could take a while to get that saving, but you're in it to save it. So there you go.
Well, since you're talking about that, I do a money saving tip on my Monday podcast, and I did actually mention this one, which was Jam Donut, which is how you can get money saving sort of cash back. But since you've mentioned Pizza Express, you must get the Pizza Express app, because if you do, you can get savings every time you go. Like, we've got gold status now.
I mean, to be fair to you, when we go there, where we're like, VIPs, we just walk in there and they're like, 3 dough balls for you, 3 dough balls for you, and this. And I'm like, why is all these things like free? This is great. But it's because you put that time in on the app and you're saving and you're doing all those little things to fine tune this whole, system. So
there you go. This is it. So talking of food, what has been your sort of dish of the week this week? Anything that I've cooked that you've really enjoyed?
Right. So let me think. We did do homemade burgers and chips on Friday, which was lovely.
Yeah, but I didn't really make. You made them actually.
Yeah, which was not. And I did actually enjoy my meatballs and spaghetti yesterday.
You cooked twice this week.
Which I done. What did you make this week?
That meatballs was really good yesterday.
That was quite
nice.
Really nice. Yeah, that was good.
I would say it's got to be the mac and cheese.
Oh my God, that finished me. That was so, because when you have mac and cheese, which we don't have a lot anyway, so when you do have it, you kind of want to like go all out. And I had like, I think 3 portions of it.
And it was a kind of go all out recipe. Nadia, my girl, hooked me up again. And there is a very freaky ingredient in that. So check out the Flip Flop Family Kitchen. I'll post that today.
Yeah, that was the one. That was lovely, with a bit of like chicken on the side too as well. So
yes,
bit of protein
yogurt,
chucked in there.
That was also Nadia's yogurt chicken. Also check out the Instagram page and I'll put it on there. Very, very yummy. And any tunes that you're listening to this week that are out of the ordinary, or what's on your playlist?
What is hot at the moment? So I'm kind of going back in the day. So I'm listening to some old stuff right now at the moment. So it's more like some rock and roll stuff. So some Little Richard.
Little Richard, yeah. Any particular track?
Johnny Be Good.
Johnny I think I know this one.
It's a fantastic tune.
Little Richard, Johnny Be Good.
I kind of go all over the place. So one day I might be listening to Guns N' Roses, then the next day like Elvis Presley or something random like the Kooks or whatever. So it's all over the place.
I've always loved your eclectic style of music, that's for sure. It keeps things fresh. Ben always keeps things fresh, and he's had a very colourful life, I should say. So that also is great, because there is still stuff about you that I don't know. So I'm in it for the long haul, and I'm looking forward to them stories as time goes on.
There'll be plenty to tell you. Don't worry about that.
And any stories that you are reading at the moment that you'd recommend?
So not really stories, but a good book that I'm still reading is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Fantastic book.
Can you finish that already? Because I want to read it.
Yeah, I'm halfway through that. It's a great book. James Clear, Atomic Habits. Fantastic book. If you're someone that you find yourself like in a bit of a rut and you need a bit of a kick up your backside, this is the book for you. So check it out. I think I paid about 15 quid for it. So it's quite expensive, but you could buy the Kindle version for half the price, I'm sure, if you got a Kindle. So check them out.
Or if you're frugal like myself, you can go on eBay and there's something called the World of Books, and nearly every book I buy is normally from there, and they're about half price. So there you go.
There you go.
Okay, so we've got a little quiz, which I thought was a great thing to do just to kind of tease out our habits and our thought processes around money. Okay, so we thought we would rope in Emiliana for this last bit of the podcast, and she's got some.
Getting a bit sleepy.
Yeah, she's got some questions for us, which I think will tease out what kind of people and what kind of spenders we are. So go ahead, Minnie.
In percentages, how much do you tip the waitress?
Me first?
Yeah.
So I think generally we try and tip 10%, but I feel like I feel only that you should tip a waitress or a waiter if you feel the service is up to scratch.
Yeah.
Sometimes me and my friends go out and the bill comes to like, 300 quid. So obviously it's quite a lot of money. So, but
Yeah.
only if the service is really good will I tip.
I agree. I think if it's a good service, then, give a great tip. And also I like to know if the actual waiters and waitresses are getting the tip. That's kind of another big thing for me. Like if it's just kind of going to be added to the bill, it's a bit like, well, is this waitress or waiter going to get the money? So, okay, so we kind of agree on that one. Next one.
How much pocket money would you give your kids?
Me first?
I'll start first, I guess. I would say that, number one, you don't just give money unless they're doing something. So chores around the house. So if they hit kind of certain
That's
targets,
fair. That's fair.
then you should get some money. But I'm like, we give them everything. So I'm like £3 a week is ample.
Yeah, so I'm the same. I don't think you should just get money by default. I think you have to earn that money. And I feel like if you tick all the boxes, if you've kept your room tidy, you've done your chores, whatever that might be, keeping the kitchen, clean or whatever, then you get that money. So in terms of payments and how much money, I think it kind of differs on age. So, Emiliana's 12. So I would have thought like around 10 quid a week might have been a good amount of money for her. I'm not going to shake on it. But, and Zach, like
babe.
£4 or £5 a week.
£40 a month. That's like a subscription.
But you know what? That
I've already
gives them
subscribed.
that. I think it's important for them because then they can, if they want to buy anything, they can work out right. So if I save up this money per month, by 1 year I'll have this amount of money, and I can I can spend that money on what I want. So it kind of gets their brain to engage a bit as well, and to think, and for them to break down the maths behind it and everything.
Well, I'm breaking down some
What he
maths.
said.
She's 12. I'm 41. So are you going to give me like £40 a week? I think I'll just quit my job. You can just pay me pocket money instead. I do enough chores in the house.
About that.
Well, you walked into that one, son.
Yeah, you're right.
So if you had enough money to buy original Oreos or fake Oreos, aka Neos, and some malt milk biscuits, what would you do?
I always think it's better to buy the originals because I feel like the ingredients are probably better. However, that's not the case with the chocolate digestives that you buy
That is true.
from Lidl.
Lidl, yeah.
Those chocolate digestives are better than the originals.
Better than McVitie's.
So I guess you just need to weigh up what works and what doesn't work. Like the Monster Munch that you buy from Lidl, Monster Claws,
Babe, you always bring that
they
up. I don't
taste too fake.
I only
but-
buy them if like you've mentioned that you want something along those lines, and my shop that day happens to be Lidl. I know the claws are crap in comparison to Monster Munch.
Neos.
Oh my God,
Why
you eat them all the time,
Why
Minnie.
are you trying to meet the... why are you trying to meet the circumstances of an Oreo? You can't.
But you
Oreos
say that,
are-
but they disappear from the drawer. Like I
because
didn't even get one. They're
I
just gone.
want Oreos. And Neos are the closest thing that we have to Oreos in the cupboard. I just don't get why we can't buy Oreos. I understand Neos. You're just jealous of how good Oreos are, so you want to try and get up there,
get
but you're not.
You
You're
get
not getting
Neos
up there. So
if I go to
please,
Lidl. I mean,
just stop. It's not working.
To the question, if I could get Neos and some malt milks versus just Oreos, I think I'd get Neos and malt milks. You go with Oreos, right?
I'd go original Oreos.
Okay.
I'd always go with Oreos. They're £1.89, which might be a bump in the corner shop, but still, they're worth it.
See, that's what you'd be spending our pocket money on.
Yeah, no, there's got to be like, we have to watch where the money goes as well. You can't
We
just
do.
get money and go and spend it,
Yeah.
willy-nilly. All right, next one.
What would you buy your 12-year-old daughter, real Uggs or fake Uggs?
For me, like I've said earlier on in this podcast, I never had real Uggs till I was in my 20s, and I just think they are quite a luxury item. So I don't think a 12-year-old needs Ugg boot, but I'm more than happy to get them sheepskin, a good quality sheepskin boot.
Yeah, I'm with you with that. I think if you can get the same quality of an UGG boot, but it's a different brand and it's half the price, why not? Uggs are just a name. You can still get good ones. I think you bought me some slippers like ages ago that were like
Just sheepskin, I think
it was just called that. Yeah, it's called just sheepskin. But they were like the same kind of comfort as an UGG boot, but they were like half the price. So you can get a cheaper version.
You literally have brown Uggs in your drawer.
Yeah, but I'm like 100 years old, so I'm allowed to have original
I have pink
Uggs.
Uggs. They're not like bright pink Uggs. They're like really nice. Like.
But that's a good subject. Guys and Uggs. Is that a thing? Like, how do you feel? I'm happy to wear them at home, but not outside. But at home, they're
What's the
really
point?
nice. What's
the point of people knowing you actually have Uggs?
No, but it's true because me and Dad had this conversation for a long time where he wouldn't wear Uggs, so we settled with Uggs in the house.
No, because I actually have Uggs. Like I do have Uggs, but like I really wanted. Like I understand that Uggs and sheepskin Uggs are the same thing, but for me, it's just the brand. Like having Uggs, and I feel like the comfort might be a little bit different. Do you not think that's sort
of peer pressure and amongst your friends as well to have like real Uggs?
Not really.
So if you tried on Uggs and another brand and they felt the exact same, but the other brand was half the price, what would you do?
Yeah, I probably would buy the half price one. To be honest.
I think when push comes to shove,
if you can get away with it, then why not?
Yeah, but poor Minnie, the ship sailed because at Christmas Dad was all for buying you real Uggs.
I know. I don't get why you didn't just buy it there and then.
Yeah, well, we actually found them and everything. Mum was like, "Right, thank you for that." And then I think the plan was to find them online cheaper or something.
Yeah, they were out of stock.
Or you had like a discount code for something.
The Christmas spirit has.
Or you were you saved up some like coupons online.
Stop, man!
I wish Tesco club card.
You were gonna save £3.50.
Get some fake Ugg.
You all know me too well.
Get some UG off Tesco with your Tesco club card and see.
I'm really happy you all listened to me. Right? Any more questions, woman?
Yes. How much would you spend on a greeting card?
Ideally 0. It's all about crafting for me. Make it personal. And gift it.
Yeah, I used to be all about spending money on a good card, but I feel like people do just get them for a second and they go up and then they just get, put in the bin. So for me, I feel cards are a bit of a waste of money. Card Factory, under £1 for a good card. I'm happy to do that. Or just make a card, which would mean a lot more. So I would recommend.
And you cannot agree to that because you just take photos of the homemade cards that me and Zach make and you post them on Facebook. Whatever, and then they go in the bin.
I think I'm just going to change this podcast to let's just, all rouse Eileen, basically. But remember, if you do get Card Factory cards, don't forget to take the sticker off the back. Very important.
Yeah.
Now, just a quick one, actually. I just got my hair done this week, and it's been a bit of a debate between these two, telling me off about how much to tip your hairdresser. So I would love to know, if you don't mind commenting, how much do you tip the hairdresser? Benjamin, how much do you tip the hairdresser?
What hairdresser? Look, he's basically bald now.
Yeah, so I've got a great guy called Andy. I tip him £2 every single time. He takes his time with me.
And he's such an icon.
He's cool. He's like, not in a rush, and I give him £2, and it takes about 20 minutes. But I'm happy to, do that. And it's a reasonable, price anyway, the haircut.
Yeah,
so.
I just, I think it's really interesting. I just want to know what everyone else does. Like, I did tip my hairdresser £6, but that's because it was a model night and it was actually really cheap.
You were there for 6 hours. And you came out looking like a Barbie doll.
I wasn't there for 6 hours. It wasn't far off, but I wasn't there for 6 hours. But I just think it's interesting because if you go in for a normal, as a woman, go to the hairdresser, it costs a lot.
Yeah,
like it does. Minimum 40. If you're getting it coloured, you're in the hundreds. So how much are people tipping? Because if you're tipping 10%, if that is the rule with hairdressers, I feel like there's no rule.
No.
So I don't know. What do you tip your hairdresser?
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us on the Flip Flop Family podcast this week. You've had myself, Zylene,
Benjamin,
and Emiliana.
And we're back again every Monday and Thursday, and you can check us out on all the podcast streaming websites. So thanks for joining us, and you've been awesome. Bye.
Bye.
Peace. Bye.